Well, they did it. The MX5 Pro is out, and we need to take a look at it. So let's just dive right into it. So this is the Talaria MX5 Pro. This is the upgrade from the MX4, and it is a substantial upgrade. So they've been changing the name a little bit too. Yesterday, this was called the Talaria MX5. Now it's called the MX5 Pro. Down here, under a lot of the marketing materials, it's still the MX5. It's still the MX5. And spoiler, I went ahead and I purchased this bike. I've been on the fence about an MX4, about an E-Ride Pro SS, and the Talaria MX5 came out, or now the MX5 Pro came out, and this is the one. So I ended up purchasing it. So if you want to know how much it costs with shipping, well, the answer is going to be $4,700 list plus tax is going to be $317.25. So the total cost for me in USD was $5,000 for an e-bike. So there are substantial upgrades, and we need to go over this. So they actually also call out Saronster's review. Saronster's review is interesting. He got a couple of things wrong. One thing that he got wrong, he called out a 520 chain. It's actually a 428 chain that's twice as strong as the 420. And there were a couple other nitpicky things that I'll go through in a different video. But today we're really just going to go over the MX5. So the price is one of the biggest difference. The MX5 Pro is $4,700. The MX4 is still sitting at $4,200 with that free shipping, and the MX3 is sitting at $3,400. And you also have the Triple X. That's $3,300 right now. And let's just take a look at the upgrades. Variable regen with thumb throttle. It comes with talks about reinforcing the swing arm, so the actual chassis has been improved. We have MX style foot pegs. It's like the $55 foot pegs that they sell at Lunicycle that come stock. The motor has a larger stator and it has better cooling. We have a redesigned gearbox. We have a 13.5 kilowatt controller. We have a 72 volt 40 amp hour battery, which is massive. And we have larger style brake calipers. Check out these. They're so much bigger than the MX4s. These brakes are actually huge. It's using DOT4 brake fluid, which is really, really nice. I really like not using mineral oil. I don't really like it. Big heavy chain, and a color TFT display with speed, regen, and battery capacity. It's got a headlight switch, which is awesome. It has 3 modes instead of 2. So you just had Eco and Sport on the MX4. Now you have Eco, Sport, and like the Hyper one or whatever it's called. And you have a suspension that's tuned for the MX5, which is cool. It looks like the suspension is a little bit thicker in front, and compression, rebound, and preload, which is all really great, being able to modify those. A thicker seat, which is always nice to see. Thick CNC MX wheels with straight pull spokes, which they look much beefier than the previous one. 48 tooth rear sprocket. That's the same as what we had before. 15 amp battery charger. The other one came with a 10 amp battery charger. This is really nice to see. We have quite a bit of changes here. We're using 200 millimeter rotors, but they are 3 millimeters wide now. So 1 millimeter more. They went from 2 millimeters wide to 3 millimeters wide. Gives us more stopping power, and we have really, really meaty brake pads. The actual brakes themselves, if you look at the Saronster's video, he actually shows a comparison between the two. They look absolutely massive. So I think most e-bikes don't have enough stopping power with their brake pads if they're using bicycle brake pads. It's just not enough to stop a 140-pound bike or 160-pound bike or whatever it is. And having those improved brakes really, really help with the safety. And if you have a fast bike, you need to be able to stop fast. And that's what we need. So that's really awesome to see that they're doing that. When it comes to the motor, they talk about the motor. I don't think it's changed a whole lot. They've added some cooling fins. There may be some more things that they've done. They talked about the stator. I don't really know a whole lot about that, but it's cool that they're still making improvements. They call out magnets sometimes come loose, and hall centers come loose with the Suron or the original Sting. They have an encoder which removes the need for hall sensors, which is nice. Hall sensor errors are one of the major things that I actually deal with a lot of my e-bikes that I've had before as well. So it's nice that we don't have to worry about that. We just have an encoder. 72 volt battery. This is a really big one. So the Talaria MX4 had a 60 volt 45 amp hour battery, and that gave us approximately 2,700 watt hours worth of capacity. Now the 72 volts, so volts times amps equals watts. So the 40 amp hour 72 volt battery is actually larger. It gives us 2880 watt hours of capacity, which is 180 watt hours more than the previous one. Now, remember, power is increased by 45%. Even though we've increased our battery slightly by maybe 5%, we've increased the amount of power that we can pull by 45%. So do not expect, if this is in the highest mode, you are going to get the same battery life as you would of the MX4. Batteries can only be so much, and they're going to be so heavy for the amount of power that they have in them. And this is a 2080 watt hour battery, which is not bad for how heavy this bike is. This bike weighs around 160 pounds, and that's a pretty good battery. Don't expect a really good battery life out of this. And I was a little disappointed with Saronster as well. He talked about the battery a little bit. He talked about it when he was at 15%. He'd gone 16 miles, and he just guesstimated that he was going to go maybe about 30 miles on it. And I really wanted to see more of like a Talaria Boys a test where they actually test it in a controlled fashion to see where that goes. But that's okay. We actually purchased the MX5 ourselves, and I'm not affiliated with Lunicycle at all, so I didn't get it early. I bought it essentially 15 minutes after it came out. I looked at the specs. They looked essentially what the leaks were like, and that's what I was looking for. So this is actually what I'm looking for. I'm really partial to the IPM motor and the gears and the fact that it doesn't have a belt drive. Noise is something that bothers me. I really get bothered with how loud something is. So I had my KLX 250S. It's my dirt bike, my dirt motorcycle that I had. And the exhaust was so loud. I loved the bike, but the exhaust was just too loud. So I sold it, and I was thinking about getting like another KLX 250S, maybe a stock one, maybe a KLX 300. Actually, I was looking at a KLX 300, a KLX 300R, or maybe a CRF 250L with a stock exhaust. And I found a couple that were really cool. They're around $4,200, so about the same price as this e-bike. So why did I get the e-bike instead of the CRF 250L? Well, one of the big things is just sound. And the other thing is how fun it is to ride. So this only weighs 160 pounds. And I know a lot of people are saying this is porky. This is on the porky side. And it is a comparison to the E-Ride Pro SS. It's 139 pounds. It's going to be much heavier. It's just so much beefier in every single way. You can't get really beefy, the massive chain, a bigger swing arm, a bigger suspension, heavier motor, a bigger battery, without gaining some weight. So you're going to gain weight, but you're going to get a lot of other things out of this. So the E-Ride Pro SS is only 139 pounds, but as you saw in the video from Saronster, this still beats a bike that weighs 20 pounds lighter than it. Again, the gearbox is so good. It's going to be so much quieter than the belt drive. I have so many good things to say about the gearbox. And changing oil is not a problem. Do you want to change a belt every time it snaps and take off the swing arm, or do some shenanigans, or try and figure it out, or worry about jumping it, or whatever? Or do you want to change the gear oil every 2,500 miles? It's not a problem. Having oil in a gearbox for me is not a problem at all. It's ridiculous that this is even a question in my mind. And it's better, quieter, more reliable, and you just have to change the oil every once in a while. Not a big deal. And then the disc brakes, so there's some discrepancies there. They called out 200 millimeter rotors, and now they're 220 millimeter rotors. I think they're 220 millimeter rotors, but there are some discrepancies just even on their website. So that's the new Talaria Pro MX5. Also, Lunicycle does a lot of things right, but their website is not great. So looking at their lead times, for example, it's just a page not found. Taking a look at their warranty, it takes you to the MX3 and MX4 site. Doesn't even show the MX5 Pro yet. When it comes to like if you shop for upgrades, if you take a look at let's see, is it under parts? Yeah, let's look at Talaria parts. I don't even know if it shows any MX5 parts, and I'm pretty sure there are some parts that are compatible with the MX5, but it doesn't show like the seat riser kit. That's probably compatible. The riser bars, those are probably compatible, but if you click on these, it's only going to call out the MX3, MX4, and XXX. My biggest gripe with the MX4, I've ridden like 3 different MX4s, and my biggest gripe has been the power. It feels pretty good. I really don't like the seat cover on the front. I really like a more motorcycle style where the seat goes all the way up to the front so you can really sit up on it. That's going to be something that I'll have to adjust to. But my biggest complaint has always been the power. Just the power, it doesn't feel very good. So having 13 kilowatts, almost 14 kilowatts of power, that's like 18 horsepower. That's as much horsepower as my 300-pound KLX 250S that I used to have. So we're looking at the same amount of power with half the weight. And that's really exciting for me. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully the battery life is good enough, and we'll go from there. So if you couldn't tell, I'm extremely excited about this launch. The MX5 Pro is here. Are you going to purchase one, or are you going to upgrade your MX4? Do you even have one? Are you interested in this at all? Let me know down in the comments. And I honestly think it's worth it over the eRide Pro SS, just due to the increased power, the better brakes, the motor, the lack of a belt drive. It just seems so much better than the eRide Pro. But let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one.